I never thought that I would ever be burying my child. I never thought that. I thought my kids would be burying me.
Jasmine Bennett and Darnell Johnson got the news on Saturday they feared the most. After weeks of searching for 17-year-old London Thomas, police knocked on their door.
When they told us they found her body, I couldn't breathe. I'm like, this can't be real. Like no, my she's coming home. She's alive. Like, this is not real.
April 5th, 2025. A 17-year-old girl walks into her ex-boyfriend's house and never walks out alive. But here's what makes this case absolutely devastating. When police came asking questions, it wasn't just the boyfriend who lied to their faces. His mother looked investigators straight in the eye and told them she watched London Thomas leave their home that day. She described seeing the teenager walk away, safe and sound. For 3 weeks, this lie helped keep the truth buried while family desperately searched for their missing daughter. Then London's body was discovered inside an SUV, and everything changed. The medical examiner ruled it homicide. The cause of death? Asphyxia. But the most shocking twist was still coming. Both the 23-year-old boyfriend and his 49-year-old mother were arrested and charged with second-degree murder. A mother and son, accused of killing a teenager together, accused of covering it up together. This isn't just another case of domestic violence gone wrong. This is about a family conspiracy that cost a 17-year-old her life and the web of deception that followed. When the people you're supposed to trust become the ones you should fear most, how do you protect yourself? What you're about to hear will change how you think about the people closest to you, because sometimes the most dangerous predators are hiding in plain sight, and they're willing to do anything to protect each other. This is the London Thomas case, and it will leave you questioning everything.
Story: fears growing over the safety of 17-year-old London Thomas. Saturday marking 2 weeks since London was last seen.
This afternoon, family and friends met in Westland to search for her. According to family, the teen from Detroit was last seen with her boyfriend in Inkster, but her cell phone last pinged in Westland.
Investigators are pleading for anyone with any information to come forward.
Well, today, 7 News Detroit reporter Sarah Michaels spoke with London's heartbroken mom and got an update from Detroit police.
I don't care about money. I don't care about anything besides my daughter being back in my home, alive, safe, and well.
Thursday, Jasmine Bennett gathered family and friends to search Hines Park in Westland for her 17-year-old daughter, London Thomas. Saturday will mark 2 weeks since London went missing.
She was very connected to her sisters. They didn't go a day without talking to each other, no matter where they were, what they did. So all of this is strange. We haven't talked to her. We haven't seen her. We know nothing.
Detroit police say London was last seen with her boyfriend on April 5th on Carlisle Street in Inkster. However, London's phone was last pinged near Cooper Upper Elementary School on Ann Arbor Trail Road in Westland.
She's 17. Who she was actually dating is 23 years old.
London Thomas wasn't supposed to die at 17. She was supposed to graduate, chase her dreams, and keep lighting up every room with that personality her family adored. Her father, Darnell Johnson, described her as having a gift for life and ambition, the kind of teenager who made big plans and had the drive to see them through. But London also had what her dad lovingly called her little attitude. You know that spark some people have? That fire that makes them unforgettable? That was London. She was vibrant, outgoing, and full of life. The kind of daughter who could frustrate you 1 minute and make you burst with pride the next. Her grandmother, Justina Martin, saw that same special quality in London. The family was tight-knit, protective, and deeply proud of the young woman London was becoming. They had dreams for her future, and more importantly, London had dreams for herself. But like many teenagers, London found herself caught up in a relationship that would ultimately lead to tragedy. She was dating Charla Pendergrass, a 23-year-old man who was 6 years older than her. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. 6 years doesn't sound like much. But when you're talking about a 17-year-old high school student and a 23-year-old adult, those 6 years represent completely different worlds. Before we continue, I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever been in a relationship with a significant age gap, or do you know someone who has? What was your experience? Because what happened to London shows us why these dynamics can become dangerous. By April 2025, London and Jalen's relationship had ended. The details of their breakup aren't fully public, but we know that by the time April 5th rolled around, they were no longer together. So why was London going to his house that day? This is where the story takes its first dark turn. London wasn't going there for a romantic reunion. She wasn't trying to get back together with Jalen. Whatever her reason for that visit, whether it was to collect belongings, have a final conversation, or settle something between them, it would be the last decision she ever made. Her family had no idea that when London's sister dropped her off at that house in Inkster, they were saying goodbye forever. They had no way of knowing that the young woman, with so much life ahead of her, was walking into a trap. But here's what makes this case even more disturbing. London wasn't just betrayed by her ex-boyfriend. The evidence suggests she was betrayed by his entire family. And the person who would lie most convincingly to police about London's fate was someone who should have been protecting her, not plotting against her. What happened next would reveal just how far some people will go to cover up the unthinkable. The final day and disappearance. April 5th, 2025. A Saturday that started like any other but would become the day that changed everything for the Thomas family forever. London's sister agreed to give her a ride to Jalen's house in Inkster. It seemed routine enough. Ex-couples often need to tie up loose ends after a breakup. Maybe London needed to get her things back. Maybe there were unfinished conversations that needed closure. Her sister had no reason to suspect this would be anything other than a quick visit. But here's what's haunting about that moment. London's sister was unknowingly delivering her to the people who would kill her. The drive to Jalen's house was probably filled with normal sister conversation. Maybe they talked about weekend plans. Maybe London mentioned what she needed to handle with Jalen. Her sister dropped her off, probably expecting a text later asking for a pickup. That text would never come. What happened inside that house remains partially shrouded in mystery, but we know London Thomas never left alive. The 17-year-old who walked through Jalen's front door that afternoon would never walk through her own front door again. Hours passed. Then more hours. London wasn't answering her phone. She wasn't responding to texts. For a teenager who stayed connected with her family, this silence was deafening. The Thomas family knew something was wrong. That gut instinct that families get when someone they love is in danger? It was screaming at them. London wasn't the type to just disappear without word. She wasn't the kind of daughter who would make her family worry like this. By the end of April 5th, panic had set in. London's sister contacted the Inkster Police Department to report her missing. Think about that timeline. London was reported missing the same day she disappeared. Her family didn't wait, didn't assume she was just being a typical teenager staying out late. They knew their daughter, and they knew this wasn't normal. The next day, April 6th, London's mother filed another missing person report, this time with the Detroit Police Department. 2 police departments were now looking for the same missing teenager. The family was covering all their bases, making sure no stone was left unturned in the search for their daughter. But while London's family was desperately trying to find her, the people who knew exactly where she was were busy constructing lies. The investigation began immediately, but it was built on a foundation of deception. When police questioned Charla Pendergrass about London's visit, he had answers ready. When they spoke to his mother, Charla Pendergrass, she looked them straight in the eye and told them she had seen London leave their house that day. Charla described watching the teenager walk away from their home, safe and sound. She painted a picture of a normal visit that ended with London simply leaving. It was a lie so convincing, so detailed, that it helped keep investigators looking in all the wrong places. For 3 weeks, the Thomas family lived in absolute agony. 3 weeks of checking phones that never rang with London's voice. 3 weeks of hoping every knock at the door might be their daughter coming home. 3 weeks of wondering if London was hurt, scared, or worse. Darnell Johnson, London's father, later described this period as the worst of his life. Every parent watching this can probably feel that terror, the not knowing, the helplessness, the desperate hope mixed with growing dread. The family organized searches. They posted flyers. They pleaded on social media for any information about their missing daughter. The community rallied around them, but London remained missing. Meanwhile, the people responsible for her disappearance were going about their daily lives, maintaining their lies, and letting a grieving family suffer in uncertainty. But evidence has a way of surfacing, even when people think they've buried it forever. And what investigators would discover 3 weeks later would expose the full scope of this family's betrayal. The truth was about to come to light in the most devastating way possible. April 26, 2025. 21 days after London Thomas walked into Charla Pendergrass's house and vanished without a trace. Millard Street near Berg Road in Southfield, Michigan. A quiet, residential neighborhood where families go about their daily routines, where children play in driveways, where nothing extraordinary ever happens. But on this day, an ordinary driveway would become the center of a murder investigation that would shock everyone involved. Parked in that driveway sat an SUV. To anyone passing by, it looked completely normal, just another vehicle in another driveway. But inside that SUV was the answer to 3 weeks of desperate searching, 3 weeks of a family's worst nightmare, 3 weeks of lies that were about to crumble. London Thomas's body was inside that vehicle. The discovery sent shockwaves through both the investigation and the community. After 21 days of searching, of hoping, of praying for London's safe return, the worst fears of her family were confirmed. Their vibrant, ambitious daughter was gone. But the medical examiner's findings would reveal something even more disturbing than anyone had anticipated. London's cause of death was asphyxia. She had been suffocated. This wasn't an accident, wasn't a tragic misunderstanding, wasn't a case of wrong place at the wrong time. This was homicide. Someone had deliberately taken the life of this 17-year-old girl. The location of London's body immediately raised questions that would blow this case wide open. Southfield is in Inkster. The SUV wasn't parked randomly on some abandoned street. It was sitting in a residential driveway, almost as if someone wanted it to blend in, to look normal, to avoid suspicion. But here's where this investigation took a turn that nobody saw coming, not even seasoned detectives who thought they'd seen everything. As investigators began tracing the connections between London's disappearance and the location where her body was found, a pattern of deception started emerging that went far beyond what anyone had imagined. This wasn't just about a boyfriend who had killed his ex-girlfriend. This was about a family conspiracy that had been operating from day one. Remember Charla Pendergrass, Jalen's 49-year-old mother, who had looked police in the eye and told them she watched London leave their house alive. Investigators were about to discover that this lie was just the tip of the iceberg. The evidence began revealing that Charla hadn't just lied about seeing London leave. She had actively participated in covering up what really happened. Prosecutors would later allege that Charla had asked a friend to move a sealed plastic container with unknown contents into an SUV in Southfield. Think about that for a moment. A sealed plastic container, unknown contents, moved to the exact area where London's body would later be found. The investigation was now focusing on both Jalen and his mother as active participants in not just London's murder, but in the elaborate cover-up that followed. This wasn't a case of a son committing a crime and his mother reluctantly helping him hide it. The evidence suggested something far more coordinated, far more calculated. I need to pause here and ask you something. What do you think really happened in that house on April 5th? Was this planned or did something go wrong and they decided to cover it up together? And how far do you think a parent should go to protect their child, even when that child has done something unforgivable? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The Michigan State Police, Detroit Police Department, and FBI were now working together on what had become a multi-jurisdictional murder investigation. The scope of the case was expanding as investigators realized they weren't just dealing with one killer, they were dealing with multiple people who had worked together to end London's life, and then spent 3 weeks lying about it. But the most chilling aspect of this discovery wasn't just that London had been murdered. It wasn't even that multiple people were involved. It was the realization that while London's family was desperately searching for their missing daughter, while they were posting flyers and organizing search parties, while they were living through every parent's worst nightmare, the people responsible were sitting in their homes, going about their daily lives and maintaining their lies. Charla Pendergrass had looked London's family in the face, knowing exactly what had happened to their daughter, and continued the charade. She had watched a family suffer, knowing she held the key to ending their agony, and chose to keep lying. The evidence was building a case that would soon lead to arrests that would stun the community. A mother and son, working together, accused of taking the life of a teenager who had trusted them. But the full extent of their alleged crimes was still being revealed, and what investigators discovered next would show just how far this family was willing to go to avoid justice. The web of lies was about to collapse completely.
Woman arrested and arraigned in connection with the death of London Thomas.
The 17-year-old's loved ones desperate for answers to questions about her death and what happened in the 3 weeks she was missing. Thank you for joining us. For 7 News Detroit at 5, I'm Glenda Lewis.
And I'm Mike Duffy. It's an important update in the case we know so many of you have been following. This exclusive video showing the woman arrested and charged for lying to police officers during this investigation. 7 News Detroit with the only camera in the courtroom for arraignment.
And it's been less than a week since London's body was found in Southfield. At one point, her boyfriend was named a person of interest in her disappearance. He has not been charged.
7 News Detroit reporter Randy Wimbley questioning the defense attorney of the woman charged today. He's also speaking with London's grandmother about this break in the case.
Investigators initially had 2 people in custody with seemingly the hopes of getting homicide charges on both of them. Now they have 1 suspect in custody facing a lone lesser charge. They, however, are adamant the investigation is not over. Charla Pendergrass was back in custody less than 3 hours after she was released from the Inkster Police Department Friday. Pendergrass arraigned on a 4-year felony of lying to police as they investigate the death of London Thomas, the 17-year-old who went missing last month and whose body was discovered in an SUV in Southfield last week.
The defendant did knowingly and willfully make a statement or statements to the office that she knew were false or misleading, and that London Thomas left 27262 Carlisle through the front door, alive and well.
Pendergrass was taken into custody along with the 23-year-old man, believed to be a relative, last Saturday after authorities found Thomas's body. They were held for nearly a week without being formally charged. The 23-year-old man was released Friday morning without charges. Pendergrass's defense attorney, Terry Johnson.
Let's go back to a week ago. They were turned in on a homicide charge. And they were held approximately 129, 130 hours, violation of their rights. And, oh, we're going to do something. We've got this, we've got that. And they come out with lying to a police officer. I mean, they are doing nothing but grasping at straws at this point.
Meanwhile, London Thomas's family reacting to Pendergrass's criminal charge.
I could feel it in my heart when I was talking to her that she was lying when she said that London had left.
Justina Martin says Pendergrass's relative was in a relationship with Thomas. She was last seen at a Pendergrass family home on Carlisle in Inkster April 5th.
I want justice for my granddaughter, and I know she lying. I know she had something to do with my granddaughter's death. I believe she killed my granddaughter.
The handcuffs clicked shut on 2 people who thought they had gotten away with murder. Jalen Pendergrass, 23 years old, was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and tampering with evidence in the death of London Thomas. But the arrest that truly sent shockwaves through the community was his mother, Charla Pendergrass, 49 years old, facing the exact same charges. A mother and son, accused of working together to kill a teenager, accused of spending 3 weeks lying to police while family grieved for their missing daughter. When the arrests were announced, the full scope of the betrayal became crystal clear. This wasn't a case of a mother reluctantly helping her son after he committed a crime in a moment of rage. The evidence suggested something far more disturbing, a coordinated effort that began the moment London Thomas died and continued for 21 days. Let's break down exactly what prosecutors believe happened, because the details will make your blood run cold. Charla Pendergrass didn't just lie to police once. She constructed an entire false narrative about April 5th, 2025. When investigators came to her door asking about London's visit, Charla looked them straight in the eye and described watching the teenager leave their house alive and well. She gave them details about seeing London walk away, painting a picture of a normal visit that ended with London simply departing on her own. But here's what makes this lie so particularly cruel. Charla knew exactly where London's body was while she was telling this story. She knew London's family was desperately searching. She knew they were posting missing person flyers, organizing search parties, and living through every parent's worst nightmare. And she chose to keep lying. The evidence tampering charges reveal an even more disturbing level of planning. Prosecutors allege that Charla asked a friend to move a sealed plastic container with unknown contents into an SUV in Southfield, the same area where London's body would later be discovered. Think about what this means. Charla allegedly involved an innocent third party in moving evidence related to a murder. She asked someone to help her transport something connected to London's death, likely without that person knowing what they were really doing. The manipulation extends beyond her own family. She was willing to make others unknowing accomplices in her cover-up. The legal proceedings that followed the arrests painted a picture of just how seriously the courts viewed these charges. Jalen Pendergrass was denied bond entirely during his arraignment. The judge looked at the evidence, looked at the charges, and decided this man was too dangerous to be released back into the community. But Jalen's criminal history made his situation even worse. He had a pending case for making a false felony report. Apparently lying to authorities was becoming a pattern for him. Even more damaging, he had been arrested for driving under the influence while out on bond for that other case. This wasn't someone the court system trusted to follow rules or show up for trial. Charla Pendergrass received a bond amount that reflected the severity of her alleged crimes, $5 million cash. $5 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. The court was sending a clear message. If you want this woman released while awaiting trial, you need to prove you have $5 million in cash to guarantee she won't flee. That bond amount tells us everything we need to know about how the legal system viewed Charla's role in this crime. This wasn't seen as a mother who got caught up in her son's mess. This was seen as an active participant in murder and an ongoing conspiracy to obstruct justice. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy praised the collaborative efforts of the Michigan State Police, Detroit Police Department, and FBI in bringing these charges. She emphasized that the arrests were the result of countless hours of dedicated investigative work, of following evidence wherever it led, even when it led to conclusions that shocked everyone involved. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of these arrests is what they reveal about trust and betrayal. London Thomas went to that house on April 5th probably thinking she was safe. Even if her relationship with Jalen had ended badly, even if there was tension between them, she likely never imagined that both he and his mother were capable of taking her life. The evidence suggests that London was betrayed not just by one person, but by an entire family. She was allegedly murdered by people who then spent 3 weeks watching her own family suffer, knowing they could end that suffering with the truth, and choosing instead to maintain their lies. This case forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality. Sometimes the people who seem most trustworthy, the people who look authorities in the eye and speak with conviction, the people who appear to be helping with investigations, are actually the ones responsible for the crimes being investigated. Charla Pendergrass had fooled police for 3 weeks. She had maintained her story under questioning. She had appeared to be a concerned adult trying to help find a missing teenager. But the evidence would prove she was something else entirely. A woman willing to help murder a 17-year-old and then lie about it for weeks while that teenager's family lived in agony. The mask had finally come off, and what was underneath was more terrifying than anyone had imagined. London Thomas's story isn't just another true crime case. It's a wake-up call that could save lives if we pay attention to the lessons it teaches us. First, trust your instincts about the people in your life and your loved ones' lives. London's family knew something was wrong when she didn't come home. They didn't wait, didn't make excuses, didn't assume she was just being a typical teenager. They reported her missing immediately because they knew their daughter. That gut feeling you get when something isn't right? Listen to it. Act on it. It could be the difference between life and death. Second, we need to have honest conversations about age gaps in relationships involving teenagers. 6 years might not seem significant when you're talking about a 30-year-old and a 36-year-old, but a 17-year-old and a 23-year-old are in completely different life stages. The power dynamics, the emotional maturity levels, the life experiences, they're worlds apart. These relationships can create vulnerabilities that predators exploit. Third, when someone goes missing, every single hour matters. London's family acted immediately, filing reports with 2 different police departments within 24 hours. Their quick action gave investigators the best possible chance of finding her alive. Don't wait for someone to turn up. Don't assume they'll come home on their own. If someone you love disappears without explanation, treat it as an emergency from minute 1. Fourth, this case shows us how betrayal can come from most unexpected sources. London probably felt some level of safety going to Jalen's house because his mother was there. A 49-year-old woman, a mother herself, who would suspect her of being capable of murder. Sometimes the people who seem most trustworthy, who look most respectable, who appear most helpful, are hiding the darkest secrets. Finally, community vigilance matters. Someone moved that sealed container for Charla Pendergrass, probably without knowing what they were really doing. If that person had asked more questions, had been more suspicious about the request, the outcome might have been different. We all have a responsibility to pay attention to what's happening around us and to question things that don't feel right. London Thomas had dreams, ambitions, and a family who loved her deeply. She deserved to live those dreams, to grow up, to become the woman she was meant to be. Her death reminds us that evil can hide behind familiar faces, that trust can be weaponized, and that sometimes the people who claim to care about us are the ones planning our destruction. But her story also shows us the power of family love, the importance of acting quickly when something feels wrong, and the need to protect the vulnerable people in our communities. As of this recording, both Jalen and Charla Pendergrass are awaiting trial for the murder of London Thomas. The legal process continues, with prosecutors building their case and the defense preparing their arguments. Justice moves slowly, but London's family remains hopeful that the truth will prevail in court. Darnell Johnson, London's father, has expressed his hope that the legal system will deliver swift and thorough justice for his daughter. He wants the world to remember London not as a victim, but as the vibrant, ambitious young woman she was, someone with a gift for life and ambition who had so much to offer the world. London's grandmother, Justina Martin, has been vocal about wanting the maximum penalty for those responsible. The family's pain is immeasurable, but their determination to see justice served gives them strength to continue fighting for their daughter's memory. This case reminds us that behind every true crime story is a real family dealing with unimaginable loss. London Thomas wasn't just a headline or a case number. She was someone's daughter, someone's granddaughter, someone's sister. She had plans for her future that will never be fulfilled, dreams that will never be realized, and a family that will never be the same. If this case has affected you, if it's made you think about the people in your own life or the safety of your loved ones, let me know in the comments below. Have you ever had to trust your instincts about someone who seemed trustworthy but felt wrong? Your story could help someone else recognize danger before it's too late. And if you want to stay updated on cases like this, if you want to be part of a community that believes in justice for victims like London Thomas, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Together, we can keep these stories alive, honor the victims, and maybe even prevent future tragedies. Justice for London Thomas is still being fought for. Her story deserves to be told, her memory deserves to be honored, and her family deserves our support as they continue their quest for answers.